So, good morning. This is 16 days of activism against GBV. I just want to get your ideas. Um, what do you think about activism against gender-based violence?
The activism is too much gender-based violence in Zambia, and
Right.
what I think is that we should do away with There's so many tradition. I will go back to my song. Our culture, we have a lot of well, should I say the lacunas in our culture too plenty, like crazy. And most of our traditions, they're so repugnant to natural justice, and we cannot even fit them in today's society. And that's why we find that today, a man figure in a home is perceived as a master, and of course, with and they derive such kind of authorities from the biblical point of view. And people have now taken 1,000 miles. They have they've now abused that privilege given. We mostly the people at the receiving end are the women and the children in homes. And if we can do something about educating a girl child and a boy child, I believe something will be able to change in the near future.
Okay.
It starts from there.
The way you are putting it, it sounds as if education is an answer to GBV, as if it's the uneducated that actually do gender-based violence.
No. I understand. It's the culture, not uneducated.
Yeah,
the culture.
Even among educated people and very well-to-do upper Mwambas, there is GBV.
Yes, a lot. Actually, that is where it's even high, because in those people who are merely who are still struggling, of course, in trying to differentiate from their tradition and the culture. There's a lot of we call it the conflicts of today's the rights and the previous, or rather the customary laws. And most people have decided to use customary law as a scapegoat in doing whatever they are doing in terms of abusing their partners. You cannot abuse your partner when you love somebody and then you beat them trying to claim that they are going to be, and that's a sign of love. That's not the way it should be. You cannot inflict pain on your partner. And it's not just about physical. It's also mental. Imilandile mi ponto. Kwema Zambia, na especially nga walisambirila. Tulapontela bakashipamayanda. Anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's true. Now, Mwelwa, GBV among the educated.
I think world over, you're going to find different segments of the population predominantly abusing one another or abusing a female. The females are normally a little weaker financially or socially. We're a bit weaker on that scale, and then it's so for anybody who is a bit cuckoo upstairs, you're opportunistically in that environment, and they can abuse you. So I think when you look at it on the educated part of it, it's normally at a disadvantage, whether it's the girl, it's the woman, or the man. I always feel that dynamic works because one, maybe they are in just a bad relationship, or the woman is lesser advantaged. So then it's easy for the man to prey on her.
Right. Yeah.
So it's always, I think, the dynamics at play.
And this cuts across all the social classes.
Yeah, ideally it does.
Yes,
I think
it does.
It does. In Zambia, I tend to think that it's even it's so fairly scattered across these different earning brackets, because it doesn't even matter if the person is well-to-do or less well-to-do. All those things are just, it will still happen anywhere you're going to go.
Right. And so we here at TVBAKWETU are united in condemning all sorts of GBV, gender-based violence, and hopefully that in these 16 days of activism against GBV, we are going to stand together, united as one people, to fight it. What are the barriers, some of the barriers being experienced in terms of GBV? Do you know any?
I think it's getting one, I think like Mr. Mkeleba did say, it's the education part. We need a lot more education at the grassroots in the schools, where you can educate a young girl, a young boy, that when you're abused or you are sexually molested, go straight to the hospital, go straight to the to the police. Don't wash up. A lot of the young girls that we come across have had a bath, unfortunately, so they've washed away the evidence because they felt that they needed to do it, but that's what they needed to actually keep. So we need a lot of that education. We equally need a lot of reforms in the police force, I think, because a lot of the men who are physically or emotionally abused, if they walked into the police station, sometimes they are laughed at. So a lot of men claim they won't go to the police because we were laughed at. So we need a lot of those reforms. Equally, we need a big reform, I think, in the police force, equally, that they don't recommend family meetings, because a sexual abuse, molestation is not solved at a family sitting. It doesn't matter whether she's pregnant or not pregnant. But a lot of times we hear this thing where, like, we went to victims to Achikala and we advised that family bekale because kuliumwa no later. And so a lot of these abusers slip through all these, so those are some of the barriers, I think.
Right. What else do we do?
What I will say is that just to add on what my sister Ezwamwelwa said, it's me. I would still dwell back to our tradition. Our custom is kind of getting out of hand, and if we can only reform most of these Miambo, some of the Miambo, especially we have Ababeneba Nafimbusa, Bashifimbusa. These are the people misleading Abanakashimu Mayanda, Nabalumendo Mayanda. Today we are even legalizing. The way we have legalized it, or to have made it like normalcy, to make it normal. When they talk of Ubuchende Wamwa Umewari Tabutobenganda, what does that mean? Already there, that is an issue. Because when a man goes and have an extramarital affair, and then the wife discovers and is confronted, guess what? Because he has the society supports him. The Shifimbusas, they even be there supporting. He gets violent. He put himself in a defense mechanism, and now abuse his own wife. Even when she is normal, she is not normal, but she is right. This girlfriend, the side chick syndrome, everyone today in Zambia, almost, not everyone, but most men in Zambia, they have this issue of, they are making it a normal situation where you can have a side chick. And now your issue, nobody's even talking about it. They're saying, if you have they're brushing it out. These are the recipes. So what I'm saying is, some of these Miambo, traditional, customary laws, we should try to change. I know they are not written anywhere, but let's try to change. Let's ask our chief, the custodians of our traditionals, to simply reform some of these rules or Miambos to actually accommodate today's modern life.
Right.
Otherwise, for example, lobola. Look at the way they have commercialized lobola today in Africa. It used to be a gift. the people from the husband, they should come and simply thanking the parent of the girl to Atotela for having brought this beautiful girl.
I think we are getting we are getting into something.
So I'm just giving examples.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, no, that's understandable. But I think we are getting into areas where it will become too wide. The assumption, the idea that lobola was simply a gift is slightly controversial. Was it a gift?
Today it is being commercialized. Let's take for example my sweetheart here, Himba, she's single. Says, give an example that she's single, and you go with a PhD, and she's also have a PhD. I'm telling you, the biungayafuma first you go for bargaining. You send your uncles to go and bargain for you.
Marriage is itself commercial. Marriage, it's not commercial. And I thought that marriage is commercial.
When people love each other, there's no price can be put on top. I'm against that anyway. I know I'll be crucified for this, but I'm just telling people to say I am against lobola. It has been commercialized. There's no way. That's why young men today in Zambia, they are running away. And when they decide to have the money and marry, because they have purchased, they have used, they have bought. When you part away with colossal sum of money, you consider whatever you've bought a property. No matter how sweet sugar coating you make, sugar coat it. No, it was a lobola, it was in Salamu, it was no. You have part away with a colossal sum of money, and that person becomes your property. And that's where you find now violence is erupting, because you are on, and then she comes and say, no, I have my rights. We are equal. No, the man will say, I bought you, I own you.
All right. But we need to be quite clear about the fact that marriage is not just two people falling in love, but it's also a commercial enterprise. It's part of our commerce and culture, right? We can't.
I think it's relative to the tribe,
and it's always been. And it's always been commercial. I mean, from ancient times. Marriage has always been commercial. It's a commercial enterprise.
Then we should not worry when men are butchering their women, because they own them.
No. How does the fact that something is commercial then lead to violence?
I think Mr. Mukeleva's point is very valid. The unfortunate thing is, marriage wasn't commercial in its original state with the different tribes. All of our tribes had different ideologies when it came to getting married. That's why the Bemba, when you say okulobola, a Bemba will tell you, in the event that anything were to happen to the woman, now okwatavana. That is what lobola is, according to maybe, let's say, Bemba. The Tongas as well, it slightly varies. In fact, some of the Bembas will tell you.
No, lobola is not even a Bemba word. Lobola is taken from Africa. No, lobola is not a Bemba term. The word lobola does not exist.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's actually varied depending on the tribe you're coming from. So, like under the Bemba terms, if you ask an elderly person to kulobola kuch tenjata kush tabana or kush tomkashi, now automatically those terms, which wasn't in the Bemba, the Bembas didn't have that lobola thing. For them, notumuti just sticks was a sign that you have committed to getting married to umuntu watwala notuvale. So this is something that has evolved over time, and it has become highly commercialized, like Mr. Mukelevai has said. And then it breeds these opportunities where they can now take opportunity, because nakushta, essentially nakushta, as much as you wouldn't like to hear that term in a marriage, nakushta, nashtavana, and for some cycles, that is basis for abuse in a lot of homes, unfortunately.
Especially if my psychopath.
Gender-based violence. Gladys.
Good evening. Mulishani Wonse.
I'm quiet.
gender-based violence, I'm just going back just to comment about what Mamkeleva is saying. Naba Mwelwa. In the Bemba terms, actually, today in the modern world, like this Kulobola Nangwin Salam, it has been misused, because in the old days, actually, it was not involved. It was not so much of money involved. It depends on whatever you can afford, whatever you have. It was some kind of a form of respect to show that instead of you taking each other without the consent of the parents, you go there to show respect. You could take limbikatwishinga ninsalu something. You put in that place. It shouldn't be money, but today it's been misused in the sense that, especially in umuntu ngasambirila, the more education you have, the more money you're going to pay. And the culture has been destroyed completely. And in the sense, some men are taking advantage of it. They start misusing the woman, butchering the woman, as Kelaba said. At Nalilipila, you can't go anywhere. And the culture as well, in that sense, has been destroyed. You go back to the parents, or you go back and I have a problem. They are the first people to embrace it and say, Nishipikisha club. Meanwhile, you have to endure. You have to endure. Even if there are children involved, instead of helping the woman, protecting the woman, you are embracing the violence to say, it's okay. Kushipikisha mwana na bali abali ikala for so many years. They bali ikala bala balopola. Muchupo tabachitana anikane tabalete fili muchupo mwaya mkulanda tiyo bali ndopola. It's the culture which has been completely misinterpreted in relationship today and before.
Yeah. I think violence is definitely out. So then how do we detach? Because what I'm noticing here is that we seem to be attaching culture and violence, commerce and violence, and all this and violence. So all that I'm asking is, how do we detach them so that we attack violence for being violence without necessarily connecting commerce or the business of marriage with violence? So is there any way we can just isolate violence and deal with it? For example, just say, it does not matter your conception of marriage. It does not matter the commerce of marriage. Violence is not going to be tolerated. And so that we attack the violence, because the problem I see with beginning to attack the culture is, first of all, when you attach the violence itself to be a cultural thing, that becomes a problem for me. So then the other thing is, now, in order to deal with this violence, you seem to want to change the culture. My proposal would be, can we isolate violence and attack violence for the wrong that it is as violence? Would that be a better resolution?
I suppose we could, but I think the challenge that we have in our cultures is that the only reason that the violence is able to breed or to exist is because of the culture or because of this economical attachment. In other cultures, it's very easy to say violence is just violence, full stop. Okay, and you're able to put a stop to it. You're able to put phone-in lines. You can say, right, as a wife, or if you feel battered and you're a woman or a man, this is a free line that you can call, and the police are going to be at your door as soon as. We don't have that. In fact, we have so many cultural stoppages. I know in a certain tribe, if my husband beats me, I'm supposed to go to his mother's house or report it to his mother. So I shouldn't even go to the police. Okay, I should go to his mother. Now, it's always one of the strangest concepts I have, because I don't think I would want to go to the mother. I would not understand how the human being is violent unless he learned it off his relatives. But it's these things that are in there. So it's very difficult to subtract the culture from the violence because it is attached. And your next step, anyhow, I want freedom from probably an abusive relationship. I'm going to go and look to get advice from the police. And if I'm pregnant, the police is going to say, maybe kale in panshimlanshani. You see, so equally, even where I'm supposed to go and get help from, there are all those blockages which are coming from a cultural background, because that policeman would never say, go and sit down as a family, unless he was equally culturally conditioned to think that's how you would solve a problem where somebody has been abused and the girl maybe is pregnant, and then there's that thing. I have a concept where I say a lot of the women who got pregnant and were forced into marriage, you've married your rapist. Even if there was some consensual element to it, but as long as you were a minor, you have married your rapist. It just, it's this warped thing. So it's a struggle. I totally get where you're coming from when you say remove it, because it's very possible in the Western culture to do it. But in the African culture, it's very hard to detach some of these elements from the actual violence.
Okay.
I would say,
feels these things are connected. That the culture, that in order for us to deal with the violence, we must deal with our cultural practices. Indeed, there are some cultural practices that are violent, but I would rather go for a stand where we isolate it. Of course, Moiro thinks that would be too difficult to isolate the violence out of the culture, or to extricate it, to remove it from the other things and then deal with it. Patrick Chilufya, what do you think? We can't get you.
Thank you, Bamusha. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bamusha. Good evening, fellow Bakwetus. Good evening, fellow Zambians. It's a very interesting topic, Bamusha, and we can go on and debate for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, even 1 month. Yeah, and most of the contributions my colleagues have made, Bamukelebai, Gladys, Bamuelwa, they are valid. But again, the most important thing is the fact that somebody has paid lobola or has paid so much money for a woman, that does not give him an excuse to beat the woman. And then Bamunsha, kuno twaikala, I don't know Canada, kuno ku UK, there is a lot of men abashali pila lobola. Kai kuroni take away. But they beat up their women. Some they even end up in jail. I'm not joking. So did they pay lobola? No, they haven't paid. They haven't even paid a cent. They even start having children before they get married. Kunokula bati umwana yeuli na flower girl.
Yeah.
So I think this, to me, yes, there's a correlation, but then it shouldn't be like that. There should be a that culture and violence should be separated, and people shouldn't use that. It's like Bamusha, where I lived in Indola. Yeah, there used to be people wakwebati ngatabanwine balife no bwino, and then nga wabatendeka basakwebati nala nkunwine.
Right.
Ero nga babwela bamusha ifo basa balande tamwasumine. Then Ruchero nga mwabe pichati because it was under the nani, influence of alcohol. So it's the same thing. I want to tell that just because nali mshtomwana kashi, then I have to beat the woman. No, that's not an excuse, Bamusha. Because even here, as I said, there are men who never paid a cent, but they beat up their women. They even jail. They don't play. And bamulafira bachanda tu mulumendo apero mwa omefumo mukashane fumo na 16 kuno kuingira mu kifungo takwa bano kuchita cover. Even families they don't cover, but and that's a difference, Bamush. Ku Zambia we cover a lot of things mu family. Let's keep it in the family. Kuno takwa ba.
Yeah.
The family itself will expose you. Because my family na wonga ba Saudi omulandu at saving mu family would take onga bwamfa kuba longa nabo. Why did you cover such kind of abuse? Na kuba longa.
Yeah. So this is definitely a very, very wide topic, because it covers a lot of issues, right? And that's why I think Himba would agree with me that from the NGO sector, they have taken a lot of different approaches. the initial approach was you intervene through the strong arm of the law, right? And then they realized that that was not yielding as much as quicker change as possible. So now they've tried to bring in several other factors, sociological factors, involve the law, involve traditional chiefs, involve churches, involve cultural influencers in order to address different facets of this issue. Because in itself, it's not one thing, right? Like gender-based violence is so general that it's not one thing. How do you isolate one issue from another? How do you isolate abuse of minor from gender-based violence? Because if we marry the two, we cannot have better tools to stop it. Because the tools that you need to stop abuse of minors and the tools that you need to stop abuse of adults in relationships, it's not just about marriage, right? In relationships, it's also different. And then conflating child abuse with gender-based violence of adults and collapsing it into two is also quite problematic because you can't resolve the two. So it's quite a complex issue, but we are going to take different approaches to address it. So in the Zambian culture, which one are we going to go after right now in our discussions? What are we talking about? Are we talking about adults being violent against each other? In this case, mostly men, there are instances of women as well, men being abusive against their intimate partners. Are we dealing with abuse of minors? Are we dealing with the general patriarchal outlook and worldviews that are oppressive to women? So those are the various sectors that we might need to reflect on.
Yeah, I think. Okay.
Yes, Himba.
Personally, I think I'm looking at it from different. When we talk about I think at this time, bonse balomana kwali babaume aboma abaana kashi kwali banabaana kashi aboma abaume. So it's just that kubaana kashi yalifula. The percentage is higher than kubaume, but it happens on both sides. And when we talk about GBV, let's not only look at physical abuse, there's emotional abuse that happens. There are women who abuses men seriously. That is also mental abuse. There are men who've been abused. There are men every day. So for me, but now we have to understand what is the cause of this. I know people come up with many reasons. Some are saying culture, but on culture we have different cultural values. In other tribes, they don't charge much, but there's still GBV. But GBV is still taking place. For me, I think we have to tackle this issue from the younger age. Mostly what we should bear in our mind that these people who tend to be spouse abusers, they actually come from abused homes. They are actually abused when they were young. So if somebody is an abuser in a relationship, it's either they are becoming from a challenged or disadvantaged background. If this child was abused because he's an orphan, when they grow up, they see these things to be normal. They want to be dominant. So such people, they grow up with it. So as our culture, I think we have to deal with it from the punchy, How do we bring up these children? How do we grow up into adulthood? Then some, as you have said, that we have to separate it. Who GBV, sexual abuse, to Pubaiche, we have to be, we have to separate it. But now I'm talking about GBV. So when you're talking about GBV, there are a lot of things we are looking at. A lot we are looking at. May I end here, Bamunj?
All right. Okay. Thank you. And that's very serious. I did not mean to undermine the idea that they got abused. That's not what I meant to communicate. What I meant to communicate was that the majority, right? It's women. So there are several helps that people in Zambia can receive if they are a victim of gender-based violence. I think Victim Support Unit is one of the flagship programs from the police that have been very helpful. Victim Support Unit. Has any one of you worked with VSU before?
I did.
Right. How was your experience?
Well, when you have the leadership in the police department that have the heart to help the community, and especially on cases that are in a family setup, I think that is how what was the name, or who came up with the VSU? What was his name? The Inspector General, the musician, I believe. These are the people, they saw these issues where people coming to police to report assault cases or affray, and then the police will just sit them down and talk to the couples, and then they go back. And sometimes you find the police, they arrest, they prepare documents to take the matter to court, and then later on the wife that was butchered comes back and say, please, if this man is arrested, there will be no one to provide for us. So there were those conflicts, and then they came up with this organization, the department in the VSU, where we should have counseling sessions before, and try to use them as a weapon to deter men from or anybody that involved in domestic violence. And it worked in most places. I think it's still there, but even though there was not much political will on the aspect of pushing the victim support to do their job properly. So we just need the government
because it requires funding and
absolutely.
And specialization, right? You need very well trained police officers.
Yes.
But I think cooperating partners have come in to actually fund programs under victim support.
Yeah.
Even some of the vehicles that have been donated to the police for victim support, some of them have come from funders.
Yes, I think the NORAD is one of them. I think has been very they've been helping so much to the police, and I think the Danish, I don't know. Anyway, we can go into that later. But the issue I wanted to say, Ramush, was the criminal aspect. How to deter this is that we should just blank out and say, we know we have the laws already. When two elderly people are fighting on the street and both of them are caught, takuli atuwe wachamba balabe katavonse nokubalonga mu kifungo okubapera omulandu. Is it afraid? Balalipira no kulipira, from there then they go. That also will bring some order. Namayanda mwine. You cannot beat any adult person. You get a belt and you want to whip your wife as though she's a young baby. You can't do that. She's protected by law, and that's an assault. And even beating children themselves, they are protected as well. There's no more corporal punishment. We have abolished that a long time ago. So nobody is allowed to trespass on your personal liberty or your personal to batter you. No, you can either be sued in a civil suit. Is going to sue for damages, for injuries that you've caused, or she can take the matter to the police, and then they prosecute you for criminal assault.
All right.
Yes.
So thank you, Mkalabai. Gladys.
Yeah, I would want to talk about a little bit about gender oppression, because we're more talking of beating with a belt, but just like Himba said, that there's also the psychological torture, and which is happening more actually in the wake of places. And thank God for the internet today. We're moving with time, and I'm sure even the people in Zambia have heard that Oyuna Bamtuala victim support. We have them. We have worldwide now the Me Too movement, and in this way we can look at different aspects where money and power is in control. Whereby if you go to look for a job anywhere, this is happening anywhere, even in the Western world, not only in Africa. Women go and look for a job. They are undermined because she's a woman. She cannot take this position. And what do? The man who's in power is using his position to get the woman under the carpet to get that job. That is also another form of abuse, not just by beating. And this is why now this Me Too movement is coming in. You have a woman walking around, hello. That's actually just, it's also, you can be sued for that. A lot of people today
would not do that.
Mukwai?
I just needed to clarify that. Bamkelabai would not do that.
No, Bamkelabai is my brother. He knows what I'm talking about. I'm not pinpointing. I'm not pinpointing. I apologize, Bamkelabai. I'm just generalizing anyway.
I don't know why issue ya kuma tako is always related to me.
Anyway. My apologies. My apologies.
No, it's okay. I was just. And thank you, Mamusha, for the defense, and thank you, my sister, for.
Yeah, I mean, we are moving with time, and we're learning from the internet. We're learning from the west side, whereby people or men should just not get away with it. A lot of people have lost jobs today. If I just refer here, so many politicians have lost jobs who have been in the political arena for so many years, and just because they had few drinks, and then they just, even if it took two, they lost that job, because it's like then you have taken advantage of that woman, and that is also coming back at home. And this is where the victim support is coming. It's also, it looks like a small movement, but we're getting somewhere. We're getting there, just to put it, and not on the culture base, but we're getting somewhere using the law in its place.
All right. That's definitely very important. The idea that this has gone into the workplace as well, to respect people, to respect women, to respect each other in the workplace. So it's on the street, in the workplace, in society, in the home. It's everywhere. And I think men have that responsibility to be as models, to be models, but also women, because sometimes the people who are actually perpetuating and perpetrating these kind of things are both women and men, and so we need to make it very clear that if a cultural practice is oppressive towards women, that both men and women are going to stand up against it and not let it. Vamkelabai, of course, mentioned Lobola. but in I have no issues with lobola. Kainge omuntu alefu okupa kulipira. Nishure ngata ulefu ayo kulipira lobola. Nishure efu ayo okupa. But the only issue from Keleba is you want bale chitako charge ishitingiri, not too much.
Yes. To be just not even to put to put kubika condition. The moment you put a condition, then it defeats the whole essence of it to be a gift or thanking the parents for having, sometimes you may even undercut or under charge the same person who would have wanted to give $1 million. No, to 20 penny. He was willing to give even $1 million to the parents. So the best thing they should do is leave it to the couple.
All right.
They should just live together and then they move.
This is a long discussion.
On the issue of Lobola Bamunsha, I think I've got a different opinion. Nga abantu bafwayana babiri wamona bakuchaje eshingi muleke bakamupako bambi don't have that reason atukaye tutulo mwana wa bene. No, hell no. Yeah. Nga wamona bakutinta pamkoshi, leave. Go and find someone who is cheap. Don't give that as a reason to abuse your spouse. For me, I think that no. So if you feel I can't pay this much, walk away. Let's not give it as a reason why we are going to torment each other, why we are going to abuse each other. Let it be emotionally, physically. Hell no. You are not going to create a prison for a friend because you paid the bridal price. That won't gonna work. What about those who abuse children? What reason do they have? Because there's no bridal price paid. So those who abuse children, for me, it's just greediness. Hello, if we talk about
on that note, we need to conclude, but play this song. Sister D came up with a suggestion of how to deal with one of the most topical issues of our day. And she did it in a song. I want us to take a few minutes to listen to it, and then we are going to conclude. This was Sister D's solution.
How does she dance it like that?
What are you doing, Mkelabai? Are you slashing? Put the camera properly so that tumoni amashao. Mwana mungono. I won't dance at all.
Please, we want to see the GBV.
At GBV.
My tradition of what?
I can shake the head.
Come on, everyone. Remember, what's happening? Oh. Gladys na Revelation ni namumutima.
16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Yeah. This has been a presentation of TVBAKWETU. Good night.